My presentation is based on Pavlov's experiment from chapter 7. Ivan Pavlov was the first to study classical conditioning in depth, conducting experiments on dogs and publishing his findings in 1897. Pavlov noticed that the dogs salivated as they were offered meat during a digestive study. Classical conditioning is a sort of unconscious or automatic learning through associations between an unconditioned stimulus and a neutral stimulus. This learning process produces a conditioned response. Classical conditioning entails exposing a naturally occurring response to a natural stimuli. The natural signal in Pavlov's classical dogs experiment was the sound of a bell, and the naturally occurring reflex was the salivation in response to food. The salivation response could be induced simply by connecting the neutral stimulus, which is the sound, with the unconditioned stimulus, the food. To better understand how classical conditioning works, it is important to know the following terms. Unconditioned stimulus is the stimulus or trigger that causes an instinctive response. Neutral stimulus is one that does not elicit a response in the first place. Conditioned stimulus is one that was formerly neutral, didn't elicit a reaction, but now it does. Unconditioned response is an automatic response or a response that occurs without though when an unconditioned stimulus is present. Conditioned response is a learned response or one that is formed in the absence of previous response. Classical conditioning consists in creating a link between two stimuli, which results in learned response. A natural produced stimulus that will automatically evoke a reaction is required for the initial step of the classical conditioning response. For example, salivation is the natural occurring stimulus in reaction to the scent of food. The unconditioned stimulus causes an unconditioned response during this stage of the process. A salivation response is elicited by offering food in a natural and spontaneous way. Also, there is a natural stimulus at this phase that has no effect yet. The natural stimulus will not elicit a reaction unless it is combined with the unconditioned stimulus. The once neutral stimulus, in this case the bell, is now referred to as the conditioned stimulus. This stimulus has now been con- conditioned into the dog's response. The learned response to a previously natural stimuli is known as the conditioned response. This conditioned response in this case, will be the dog's salivation in reaction to the sound of the bell. In Pavlov's finding after the dog's experiment, Pavlov proved that animals' behavior can be modified through classical conditioning. In humans, classical conditioning has somewhat the same impact as in animals. In other examples, in cats, for example, the sound of a can opener, which is connected with food, causes the cat to rush to the food. A caring and lovely teacher, in the case of a human, helps students feel connected. The teacher is associated with going to school as a result of a student enjoying school. Few points on why classical conditioning matters. It can help people in changing one's destructive habit, or it can be useful to train your dog or your pets at home. In conclusion, Pavlov's study confirms that behavior can be influenced through classical conditioning. It has been established that classical conditioning has influenced people's behavior and has made a notable contribution to psychology. This is my conclusion. Thank you.